What's going on, baseball fans? How are we doing? So one of my favorite sources of information for sports out there, ESPN, has come out with some hot takes for the rest of this Major League Baseball season. So in this video, I'm going to buy or sell them. Let's go talk about it. Okay, so here we go. The first hot take in this article: the Orioles are going to strike out more than anyone in Major League Baseball history. Well, the record for strikeouts for a team in a season are the Chicago Cubs from last year, 1,596 strikeouts. If we take a look right now, the Orioles have 169 strikeouts through 17 games. So they are on pace for 1,610 strikeouts. If we go take a look here, last year with the Orioles, they actually weren't too bad with the I mean, they did strike out a lot, but if we take a look here, when it came to strikeouts overall, they were the 10th highest team. They had 1,454, and a lot of those players from last year are back this year. Guys like Ryan Mountcastle, Cedric Mullins, Mancini, Hayes. There are a few other guys in here that are new, but I think eventually the strikeouts are going to calm down a little bit with the Orioles. You got to remember this season, you know, it was a weird start to the season. Spring training, shortened spring training. So I think these guys, they're still kind of getting their timing down. I think they're going to calm this down. I can't imagine a team getting more than 1,600 strikeouts. But I mean, hey, the way the game is these days, I mean, strikeouts are coming up plenty these days. So for me personally, I'm going to sell, but I mean, it's definitely possible. I just think they're going to calm down on these strikeouts eventually. Up next, the White Sox won't win the AL Central. Man, oh man, the White Sox are having a tough time right now. They've lost 8 straight games. They're 6-10. They started off 6-2, and they've just dropped to 6-10, a negative 24-run differential. Injuries all over the place. Eloy Jimenez, Luis Robert, Lance Lynn, Lucas Giolito just came back. Joe Kelly also on the IL. A lot of injuries for the White Sox right now. But despite all of that, still only 2.5 back in the division. To me, I think that's a good sign. I think they're going to eventually get back on track. But let's look at the White Sox as of right now. You got a lot of guys in that lineup that are very capable of putting a lot of runs on the board. But they only rank 22nd overall in the offense right now. So I do think that will get better in time. If we take a look here at the starting pitching has actually been pretty decent despite having Lance Lynn on the IL and Lucas Giolito just coming back recently. They've had some guys really step up. Michael Kopech's had a really nice start to the year. Dylan Cease is doing pretty good. Some of these other guys, they've been trying to do what they can. But the starting pitching has been stepping up for the most part. And the bullpen right now, only 20th overall, but they got some great arms in this bullpen. I mean, sure, yeah, with Liam Hendriks, walk-off home run the other day against Byron Buxton, but I think he is going to end up being fine. This is one of the best closers in the game. You still got guys like Kendall Graveman. Tanner Banks has really stepped up in that bullpen for them. They're going to get Joe Kelly back eventually. I think overall, this White Sox bullpen, they're going to be fine. I think they're going to solidify themselves. I think they end up winning the division in the end. So I'm going to sell this hot take. Up next, they have Cody Bellinger will be a 5-WAR player for the Dodgers. I'm actually going to buy it because Cody Bellinger, player of the week last week. He's off to a pretty good start this season, hitting .254, the on-base of .313. Those could be higher, but that slugging is looking pretty good at .542, a 149 WRC+, 4 home runs through 16 games so far. Taking a look at the RBIs, he's driven in 8 so far. He's definitely doing way better than he was last year, that's for sure. But also taking a look at Baseball Savant, exit velocity looks pretty good. Hard hit percentage looks pretty good. The xWOBA, the x-batting average, the x-slugging, barrel percentage is up there as well. These numbers are looking way better than they were last year. You got to remember with Cody Bellinger last year as well. He was going through some injuries. Man, with a big swing like that, I could definitely see that taking some time for him to really get back into it, really get his mechanics back down. But Cody Bellinger, he is looking rather good. If we take a look, we were just looking at the numbers, but look at the WAR as of right now, a 0.6. He is on pace through 162 games. That would be on pace for a 6 wins above replacement. I definitely think Cody Bellinger, he's starting to get his mojo back. I think he's only going to keep getting better. So overall, I'm going to buy this one. Up next, Wander Franco is going to be the MVP of the American League. Man, He's off to a really good start this season. I actually just watched him in Tampa live with them beating my Red Sox. I cried myself to sleep that night. But Wander Franco, man, this guy was just flashing the glove like he had been doing it for years. And this guy, he's just a special player. He was the top prospect for a long time there, and it is definitely showing. Wander Franco, man, just out of his mind. So far, hitting .349, a .364 on base, a .635 slugging, a .197 WRC plus, 3 home runs, 10 RBIs. Wander Franco, man, off to an incredible start. Taking a look at the Baseball Savant numbers, everything in the Reds. However, this is why I am going to sell. And I think Wander Franco, as good as he is, especially at that age of 21, the walks, they're low. The chase rate, it's low. I do think eventually these pitchers, they're gonna exploit that a little bit more. Yes, he's off to a very hot start, and yes, I do think he will adjust to these pitchers adjusting to him. But I do think in the end that will catch up to him a little bit. If we take a look here, as of right now, he only has a 3% walk rate. He's not striking out a ton, but he does chase a lot. So I do think in the end that will catch up to him. And especially with some of these other guys, like Mike Trout is looking like just Mike Trout, Jose Ramirez. You know, these guys have track records. Don't forget about Vlad Jr. I just think there's a lot more patient hitters out here. And I think Franco, you know, I don't think he's going to earn enough walks in the end. And I think some of these other guys, they're going to end up getting higher on base percentages than him. I mean, the guy can hit like crazy, but I think just some of these other guys like Trout, like Ramirez, like Vlad Jr., just very patient hitters up there. I just think in the end, they're going to beat him out. But I definitely will buy Wander Franco winning an MVP at some point. But for this year, I'm going to sell. Up next, Carlos Rodon will be the best signing of last offseason's free agent class. Well, let's go take a look at those guys that signed this past offseason. Carlos Correa was the big one there. Marcus Semien, Starling Marte, Scherzer, Rodon, Freeman, Gosman, Ray, Baez, Rodriguez, Castellanos, Corey Seager with that massive deal. A lot of guys, a lot of great players signed this past offseason. But believe it or not, a couple of pitchers right now are looking like the best signings so far. A lot of these guys are off to slow starts. Guys like Carlos Correa is off to a slow start. Marcus Semien off to a bit of a slow start. Seager as well. But taking a look here at the National League when it comes to the pitching, Carlos Rodon, as of right now, tied with Kyle Wright for the lead in wins above replacement and Fangraph WAR. Rodon is phenomenal right now. 15 strikeouts per 9 through 3 starts, a 1.06 ERA, a 0.89 FIP. Are you kidding me? Goodness gracious. Carlos Rodon, what a great signing for the Giants this has been. And I think it was a really good fit just because the Giants, they work well when it comes to mechanical issues with pitchers. They work well with managing innings as well. I think Rodon was a really nice fit for them. But there's another guy as well to keep an eye out for, and that's Kevin Gosman. He has been great with the Blue Jays through 3 starts, 2.89 ERA, but look at the FIP, 0.71 FIP. He's not getting as many strikeouts as Rodon is, but he hasn't walked anyone. He hasn't given up any home runs. I mean, goodness gracious. And this is all coming along with a BABIP, a batting average on balls in play of 412. That's extremely high. That's going to come down eventually. Now, will these guys be at the top? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I definitely think some of these other guys are going to pick up the pace. Carlos Correa, Semien, I think Seager, we're going to see him do more. Even guys like Castellanos as well. But if Rodon keeps up this pace, I absolutely think he could end up being the best signing, at least for this year. But with Rodon, we always got to remember with the health, he's had shoulder issues in the past. He had the, problems with his shoulder last year towards the end of the season. So I think the one thing holding him back is his health. There's a lot of other talented guys out here. So for now, I will sell. It's definitely possible. Absolutely it is. Rodon has always had the ability. He could have won the Cy Young last year. I think he would have won the Cy Young last year if he would have just stayed healthy for the whole season. So that's the only thing that's holding me back a bit on Carlos Rodon. But man, he really is looking good so far this season. Speaking of Carlos Correa, let's talk about his replacement in Houston, Jeremy Pena. Man, he is off to a really good start this year, but here is the hot take. The Astros' new shortstop will be better than the Astros' old shortstop. That's a pretty good hot take, man. Jeremy Pena, there is a lot to like with him. The big one is his glove. He's a very, very good defender out there. There is a legitimate chance that he could end up being a Gold Glover out there in the National League at shortstop. Taking a look at his advanced numbers so far, he has 3 defensive runs saved, already off to just a very good start defensively, but offensively as well, already has 3 home runs. Now, the batting average of 241, 311 on base, those are a little low, but 500 slugging so far through 62 plate appearances. With Jeremy Pena, I do think, yes, he's off to a hot start, had the walk-off the other day, but I think with Jeremy Pena, again, these rookies, he's 24 years old. This is a lot of pressure. What a hot take this is. A lot of pressure on a young kid. But I do think eventually pitchers, they're going to get more scouting on him. They're going to start figuring him out a little bit. But then that's up to Jeremy Pena to start adjusting to those guys, trying to make adjustments to him. So Jeremy Pena, in the end, I think while he is off to a great start, I do think Correa will end up catching up to him this season. He is off to a slow start. I mean, look at these numbers. Not very good, especially a high-priced free agent this past offseason. 192 average, a 288 on base, 288 slugging, has a home run. So not a lot going on there. But with Correa, still some good signs. He still ranks really well in average exit velocity, max exit velocity, and hard hit percentage. He's also still walking a lot, in the top 30% in walk percentage. I think Carlos Correa is going to end up being fine. And if we actually take a look at his splits in his career, if you take a look at all of his months, April and March, he's actually been really solid in that first month. He's averaged a 280 batting average, a 354 on base, 461 slugging. But as you can see here, his numbers do get better. Looking at the OPS specifically, 815 OPS in April, then 848 in May, 962 in June, and then it does kind of go down a little bit here as he gets towards the end of the season. But as we can see, at least in the first half of the season, he does get better and better and better. I think he is going to heat up. This is the first time he's with a new organization, so I will cut him some slack, getting used to his new surroundings over here in Minnesota. I think he's going to end up being fine. Carlos Correa is one of the best players in the game, was one of the best players last season. There's some good signs with him when it comes to the advanced numbers. Now, in the end, will Jeremy Pena end up being a better player than Carlos Correa in his career? The one thing that always dogged Correa was his health. He was always missing some time. I mean, I don't know. Maybe Jeremy Pena, I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see how these two careers end up going. But if Pena can stay healthy, and if he can just keep getting better with the bat, the glove is always going to be there with him. But if he can keep progressing with the bat, who knows? I do think in the end, I think Correa by the end of the season will have a higher wins above replacement. I believe in this guy too much. But Jeremy Pena, he's off to a great start this season. The next hot take, Tony La Russa won't last the season in Chicago. I'm going to sell this one. Yes, we just talked about the White Sox earlier. They are having a bit of a skid. But Tony La Russa, he's had plenty of times with the Cardinals, slow starts, ended up being fine. You don't ever see a manager get dismissed in a season. Very rarely that happens. So Tony La Russa, I think, is going to end up staying with the White Sox through this season. If he does end up leaving, I don't think it'll be during the season. It would be in the offseason. But I think the White Sox, they're going to bounce back. I think they're going to end up being fine. So I'm going to sell this one. This next one is a fun one. Byron Buxton is going to deliver one of the best seasons in Major League Baseball history. Byron Buxton. I have talked about this guy many times. This guy is phenomenal. He's electric. This guy could easily be one of the best players in the game. But he's made of glass. He's always getting hurt. Byron Buxton, man, just stay on the field. Holy cow. Because if you stay on the field, you're going to be amazing. Look at these numbers that he's putting up so far this year. A 351 batting average, a 415 on base, a 946 slugging. I mean, good grief. Almost a 300 WRC plus, 6 home runs. I mean, are you kidding me? 11 RBIs as well. This guy is just off to a blazing start. He has a 1.3 WAR already. But last year, he ended up getting a 4.1 WAR in 61 games. That is insane. Now, I think he has the potential to be a 10 WAR player. That, to me, those are some of the all-time best seasons. When you think of 10 WAR guys, you think of Mike Trout, you think of Mookie Betts back in 2018, you think of Barry Bonds, you think of all those great players. Byron Buxton absolutely could have that kind of a season. He just has to stay healthy. I mean, that's all there is to it. If he can just stay on the field, this guy's phenomenal. We'll have to wait and see. I think, honestly, I hate to say it, but I think I got to sell at this point just because he hasn't shown that he can stay on the field. He won't be able to have one of the best seasons of all time if he can't stay on the field. Until he proves to me that he can stay on the field, well, I can't buy it. So for now, I will sell, but the potential is there. Up next, Mike Trout is going to become the first player in more than 2 decades to hit 60 homers in a season. Mike Trout off to a great start this season. Mike Trout, he's going to go down as one of the best players of all time. Still holding on to that best player in Major League Baseball crown as of right now. So far, hitting .326, a .436 on base, .696 slugging, 4 home runs. He's projected for 40 home runs. So if I were to do some quick math here, he's got 4 home runs so far through 13 games. So if I were to do some quick math, through 162 games, he's on pace for right around 50 home runs, 49.84. So already he's not really keeping pace with a 60 home run season, but I'll go a little deeper than that. Let's take a look. With Mike Trout, the most that he's hit in a season was 2019, 45 home runs. So he's not really convincing me there either. But, hey, I'll take a look here. When you take a look, also, Mike Trout just turned 30 this past year. But taking a look at guys that have been 30 and above, how many home runs have these guys hit? Well, if we take a look at guys that were older than 30, the most home run, or the only guys that have hit 60 home runs after the age of 30, we had Babe Ruth, we had Sammy Sosa a couple of years, Mark McGwire a couple of years, and Barry Bonds. So I gotta sell this. There's too much of an argument going against this. I do think Mike Trout ends up having a very good season. Hopefully he stays healthy this year. But I'm definitely going to sell this one. I don't think he's going to hit 60 home runs. Last but not least, Albert Pujols passes Babe Ruth on the all-time home run list this season. Albert Pujols, great story going back to the Cardinals for this season, finishing his career there. But taking a look, as of right now, Albert Pujols has 681 home runs. That ranks him 5th all-time, behind Babe Ruth, who has 714. So with Albert Pujols, he needs 33 home runs to get to Babe Ruth. As of right now, for this season, he has 2. He's on pace to hit around maybe 20, 22 home runs with the pace that he's on as of right now. I don't think he's going to do it. I don't think he's going to do it. And he's 33. With the amount of playing time that he's going to be getting this year, he's played 8 games. And as of right now, the Cardinals have played 15. So I just don't think he's going to get enough playing time. Now, if you take a look here, he is 15 away from Alex Rodriguez, who has 696. So I think it's possible he passes A-Rod and he can get to 4th all-time. I just don't think he's going to have enough playing time to get to Babe Ruth. But, hey, that's not taking anything away from Albert Pujols, man. One of the greatest players of all time. But for this one, I will sell. So that's what I think about some of these hot takes from ESPN. Tell me what you think down below. Do you buy any of them? Do you sell any of them? Let me know what you think. But that's all I have for right now. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you next time.